Morning, everyone. Welcome to the news at 7, streaming on CBS News Philadelphia and on Philly 57. I'm Jim Donovan.
And I'm Howard Monroe, in for Beryl this morning. Thank you so much for waking up with us. Let's get a check of this hot forecast with meteorologist Kate Bilo. Good morning to you, Kate.
Good morning to you, Howard and Jim. Yeah, you know, mid-July is traditionally the hottest time of the year here in Philadelphia, but this is exceeding our normals by about 10 degrees as we get into tomorrow, especially. We've got feels like temperatures today like 100 plus. Tomorrow as high as 105 and a heat advisory for that. Showers and storms will work their way into the forecast later this week, so it is going to stay active. It starts with the heat, it finishes with the storms, and we'll be tracking the moisture plume from aforementioned Hurricane Beryl as it moves east late this week and could factor into some heavy downpours that will fire up for us, especially by Friday. Temperatures for today, look at this. It's already 81 degrees in Philadelphia. Not much recovery overnight. We are under a heat advisory. We also have an air quality alert, code orange today, because all of those pollutants just get trapped close to the ground when you have this heat building every day. Not a lot of wind today to move that around. So anyone with health issues, respiratory issues, very young children, very elderly adults, watch out. Don't spend too much time outside if you can avoid it, both the heat and the air quality today. 94 degrees by 5 p.m. A few more clouds later on, but here is our heat advisory. It's pretty much for the entire region. Cape May County and southern Delaware not included. We may see that be expanded to include those counties tomorrow as heat index values climb to near 105. Coming up, I'll tell you when the heat breaks, but also when some heavy storms could fire up in our neck of the woods. Chandler, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Kate. We're still following this crash on 95 as you make your way through Delaware here, right at Churchman's Marsh in the northbound direction. We have that left lane closed off and that shoulder. You can see the police activity on the shoulder as well, but still 4 lanes getting by. This is causing a delay, though. Unfortunately, you're seeing a lot of buildup, really starting from the 295 split as you approach this accident. That's where the delays come in. It'll take you about 15 minutes traveling that 10-mile stretch from 295 split down to about Route 1 on 95 northbound, or I should say from Route 1 up to 295 as you make your way north on 95. The good news is all other road work has cleared on 95 in the area. Mass transit, we do have an update for you when it comes to New Jersey Transit. Northeast corridor is traveling with delays. 1 train already canceled, and we're seeing about 45-minute delays due to mechanical issues and a number of trains canceled along the River Line, Jim, for equipment availability.
Thank you, Chandler. Well, it's back to reality today as people head back to work following the long 4th of July holiday. Experts predicted that 70 million people traveled by car or air. Philadelphia International Airport has been pretty quiet all morning long. The first planes landed shortly after 5:30 this morning. Yesterday, TSA expected a record 3 million people to pass through security. That's nationwide. That would be the busiest day of the entire summer. Experts say more people are flying due to lower ticket prices. The average price for a gallon of gas is also lower than a year ago. These savings drove nearly 61 million Americans to hit the road for the Independence Day holiday. The New Jersey Forest Fire Service says fireworks sparked this wildfire that's burning in Wharton State Forest in Burlington County. The Tea Time Hill wildfire has burned more than 4,000 acres near the Batona campground. That's in Tabernacle Township. The fire is 75% contained. Fortunately, no buildings are threatened. Anyone who may have information that could aid in the fire investigation is asked to contact New Jersey Park Police.
Hurricane Beryl made landfall in Texas just before 5 o'clock this morning, 4 a.m. Central Time. The storm hit the U.S. coastline as a Category 1 hurricane with winds of 80 miles per hour. CBS News correspondent Jared Hill has the latest.
This morning, communities along the Texas coast are boarded up and bracing for impact from Hurricane Beryl.
You know, as it's going along, it seems like it's getting thicker and, the wind's really picking up.
Late Sunday, the storm that's already carved a deadly path of destruction through the Caribbean re-strengthened from a tropical storm to a Category 1 hurricane as it churned in the Gulf of Mexico. Texas officials warned people along the entire state's coastline to prepare for heavy wind, rain, flooding from storm surge that in some coastal communities could reach up to 7 feet.
Storm surge will not stop until the wind moves on, because the wind is what is causing the storm surge and pushing that water inland.
In Galveston, essentials like bread flew off grocery store shelves, with residents who've weathered strong storms in the past preparing to ride out another.
Level of concern, not too bad, but still prepping, for power outage and things like that.
But Ben Boone and his daughter are packing up the truck in Port Lavaca, going to higher ground.
This neighbor here, he stayed for Harvey, and he said it sounded like the roof was going to come off. And so he was like, I'm not doing that next time.
Texas's Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has issued a preemptive disaster declaration for more than 120 counties. Houston's airport also is keeping a close eye on Beryl before they decide if or when to pull back flights on the tail end of a busy holiday travel weekend. Jared Hill, CBS News.
And people from our area are on the ground in Texas to help. The New Jersey Red Cross says 8 of their volunteers are there. And the Southeastern Pennsylvania Red Cross also sent volunteers. And stay with CBS News Philadelphia as Hurricane Beryl batters Texas. We'll have continuing coverage throughout the morning as we track the storm.
Philadelphia radio station WURD has decided to mutually part ways with one of their hosts.
This is because of her choice to use questions provided in advance of her interview with President Joe Biden. CBS News Philadelphia's Ross DeMattei joining us live now in studio with more. Ross, good morning.
Good morning. WURD's president and CEO is expected to address the situation on air later this morning. She's doing some damage control after one of her hosts admitted to asking President Biden questions that were fed to her by the White House ahead of time.
Effective immediately, I am no longer an on-air host at WURD.
In this video posted on Instagram on Sunday, Andrea Lawful Sanders announced she is leaving WURD Radio effective immediately.
I tendered my resignation yesterday.
I'm glad that you all were patient.
Lawful Sanders hosted a show called The Source on WURD. She recently made headlines for her interview with President Biden, which aired on July 4th following the president's poor debate performance.
I have a few questions for you. The first one is, a lot of people are talking about the debate and your performance. Is there any reason for the American people to be concerned?
No, I had a bad debate.
Yeah.
I had a bad debate.
Days after the interview, Lawful Sanders admitted to CNN that the interview was based on questions that were given to her ahead of time by the Biden campaign.
Yes, I got several questions, 8 of them, and the 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved.
Interview the President of the United States.
Wisconsin radio host Earl Ingram also recently interviewed the president, and he too says he received a list of 4 questions in advance. A spokesperson for the Biden campaign told CBS News, quote, "We do not condition interviews on acceptance of these questions, and hosts are always free to ask the questions they think will best inform their listeners." WURD President and CEO Sarah Lomax confirmed Lawful Sanders' departure from the Black-owned talk radio station. Lomax said the interview was arranged and negotiated without the knowledge of management and, quote, "violates our practice of remaining an independent media outlet." Lomax went on to say, quote, "WURD Radio is not a mouthpiece for the Biden or any other administration," end quote.
Now, a source within the Biden campaign tells CBS News that moving forward, it will refrain from offering suggested questions. We did reach out to Lawful Sanders for comment, but we're still waiting to hear back. Jim, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ross. Concern among President Biden's allies is widening after several of them called for Mr. Biden to drop out of the race this weekend. Sources tell CBS News that at least 4 more Democratic congressmen have called on the president to drop out of the race during a private call with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries yesterday. Allies of the president describe a critical week ahead as lawmakers return to Washington and discuss next steps as the Democratic National Convention inches closer.
Wish he could jump up the steps on Air Force One. He can't. What we have got to focus on is policy.
The way you fix a problem with that President Biden is dealing with right now is more. You flood the zone with more of him, more public events, more national interviews.
Former President Donald Trump stayed off the campaign trail this weekend, but has a planned rally tomorrow in Florida. At 81 years old, President Biden is the oldest sitting U.S. president in history. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham added his voice to those calling for cognitive and physical evaluations for Mr. Biden. He says he's concerned about the president's ability in the short term.
70% of the public believes that President Biden's not mentally and physically capable of being president. 70% of the people believe the nation's on the wrong track. Most Democrats are worried about Biden winning the election. I'm worried about Biden being the commander-in-chief for the next 4 months.
In addition to President Biden, Senator Graham has also called for former President Trump to undergo cognitive and physical tests as well. The Republican lawmaker recommended such tests for all future presidential nominees, as well as those who may take over from a president or a nominee.
President Biden is back at the White House this morning after wrapping up his weekend trip to Pennsylvania. CBS News Philadelphia was on the tarmac at PHL yesterday, where the president was greeted by top Democratic leaders in the state, including Philadelphia Mayor Sherrell Parker and Senators John Fetterman and Bob Casey. From there, Mr. Biden made his way to a church service in West Oak Lane. President Biden got a warm welcome at the Mount Airy Church of God in Christ. He spoke with the congregation for 7 minutes, saying that he's committed to helping black families build wealth and health.
You know, I've been doing this a long time, and I, honest to God, have never been more optimistic about America's future if we stick together. I really mean it.
Beautiful person, and he got my vote. Definitely. Yeah.
And we believe President Biden is promoting love. And he has put a lot of black people in position. So we're grateful for that.
After the service, the president stopped by a field campaign office in Manayunk and spoke with volunteers.